turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse.
My name is Kevin Kitchen. This is my wife Nelly and Gonzales. We all served in the Peru Trujillo North Mission. We were some of the first missionaries there. That's where I met my wife Nelly. We have come back to Peru. We are doing family history, which for some of the family history for my wife requires us to come back to Peru. I'm 56. This year I'll be 57. I love coming to Peru, and I love doing family history. I have done family history for 52 years. From my dad, there's different, depending on what line of the family, we have records back to 967, but in other parts we're stuck at 1730. And on my mom, she mainly came from Scotland, and we're in about the 1400s there with records. With Nellie, my wife, shortly after we got married, I emphasized the importance of family history, and we started doing family history shortly after being married, and we have continued doing it. And as the church has filmed records, digitized them, made them available, then we've been able to expand. But it's come to a point where there's areas that the church has not, or Family Search has not filmed the records, so we have to come here to search for the records and find them in order to keep going back. And in Nellie's side, her grandfather came from Arequipa and spent quite a bit of time in Iquitos, and he Arequipa, we're back to about 1830, and we're kind of stuck there. We've got to go and find more records, or the church needs to film some more. In Iquitos, we're back to the late 1800s now. So it's got to the point where we go to Iquitos to get records from the Catholic Church and also civil records, because the Catholic Church records predate civil records, where the Catholic Church, they know me well there now. We've now made 3 trips. About my family, there's a lot of records that have been filmed by Family Search that I'm able to search. Where records haven't been filmed, then we have to go there. Mainly, latest trips have been to Normandy, France, and up into England. And primarily we're able to use any type of record that has been filmed by the church. We use birth records, land records, tax records, cemetery records, census records, any other document, military records, anything that we can find that has any mention to a family member. And then in our family, we have actually made 8 books that we have had printed. Every one of the books has been printed at Brigham Young University. The last book, I was the main contributor of it. I wrote about half the book, and it was 700 pages long. But we had gathered so much information that we had to put it on a USB drive to share, because we found, we even went to maps. It was important to get maps of the periods that we were looking at in the 1800s, and even some earlier maps in the 1700s that have been digitized and are accessible. So that's what we did on my side of the family, and so I've carried that over to Nellie's side of the family. About my wife's family, when we came back in 1992, we asked her family about some records, and we started writing things down. And that was March of 1992, and her grandfather had a stroke and was ill of health. But he had gone and written a book, a little bit about his ancestry. He was not a member of the church. but he had felt the impression that he should record these things down. He wanted to print the book, but he could only afford to make 17 copies that were all typed by himself on a typewriter. And then he recorded down pertinent information in the book. It was basically 37 pages. And he also wrote his history, his military history for the time he served in there. And in his book, he said he hoped there was somebody in the family that would continue the research. So we made him the promise that we would. And from the information that he gave, we have been able to grow on that. And last fall, or last September, we took his book that he had one copy of, and we put it into the computer, and this is his military history. We had it printed here in Lima. And it goes through just as he wrote it. There's been a few corrections, grammar corrections. There's some pictures in it that we have done. But this is the history that her grandfather made. And he died that same year in November. Of the book that he had that was 37 pages, we have made this book last fall. And this, we are at this book is 150 pages. With additional information that we recently found, and with the information that we have found in our trip to Iquitos just the last week or so, we're going to be up to about 250 to 300 pages now. We found that many documents. We were able to take additional pictures, photos that were found in Iquitos, and we're going to add it in. We're probably going to change the format a little bit to organize it a little better. But this book too was printed here in Lima, because that's where the main part of the people live. But we are taking copies back to the United States to share there. And so it's important, you know, when we do these books, we put down the source of the information, where they came from. And that way, if anybody has any question, they can go back to that. Or if they would like to help in the effort, they can go to those sources and also look for additional information. Because really, it's not the end, it's the beginning. And the way that I gather records is depending on the location and availability of records. Like the Kitchen family originated in Buckingham County, Virginia. In 1869, the courthouse burned down and burned all the main part of the records. So we've had to resort to other sources of records, such as tax records, census records, any church records, or anything that has been recorded down, military records that were not destroyed in the courthouse. And so sometimes it takes a little bit of time and investigation and looking in other areas, such as the digitized newspapers that are in the National Archives of the United States. But there are items there, or even in maps. We found detailed maps in the 1800s where it has the names of ancestors on where they were living, which acts as a document to us. So you need to be open-minded and not just think of records that have been possibly, birth, death, marriage records. There are other places to find records that give proof and evidence of these individuals and birth dates and death dates. Sometimes they're limited, but you do what you can do. You take any record you can get. One of the things that we did was we did her DNA testing. And we discovered that she has some family members, or people that she's related to. They were third to fifth cousins. And as we was looking through them, we was able to identify some that they also have ancestry that comes from Iquitos, Peru. And we started making contact with them. And they have information, we have information, we share it with them. And we're trying to find how Nelly is connected to them. What are we got to connect the dots. And it's important that we do this. They are not members of the church, but they still have this desire that is connect to their past, to connect to these ancestors of theirs, and they are honoring them by doing that. And there's actually a very big movement in the whole world to know who your past is. Not only do I use Family Search in my research, but because of the connection to church and letting these other organizations have access to the records, any member of the church can get a free account to Ancestry.com, MyHeritage. There's actually 6 different businesses that access the church's records, and the church made an agreement so any member of the church can have a free account with them as part of the agreement. So I actually use MyHeritage, Ancestry.com, and Family Search in doing all my research and connecting with other people that we're related to, and we're collaborating together. Your turn.
Una de las cosas que me gustaría agregar es cuando uno siente la inspiración de poder continuar buscando y en ciertos lugares que el Espíritu nos pide hacer, como por ejemplo él ha tenido inspiración de poder buscar en ciertos libros específicamente el color del libro, el número del libro y todo. Entonces seguir esa inspiración, así es como trabaja el espíritu de Elías, así es como trabaja el espíritu de nuestros ancestros. Ojalá que nuestros hijos Lee, Jason, Chanaya puedan continuar con esta investigación, porque de esto va a depender la salvación de sus almas también, y ellos pueden realizar y tener esta conexión con sus antepasados.
I someday want to meet my great-grandfather, my great-great-grandfather, and others in the family that I learned to get to know that passed on before me. I've had the blessing to be able to obtain 2 cemeteries in Virginia of my ancestors. And I've let it be known to my kids that when I am gone, they are responsible for those cemeteries. I also have the kitchen family Bible. With writing in it from my great-grandfather and great-great-grandfather. It was printed about 1840. And that will be passed on. To me, that is sacred record. That I am the custodian for it for a time. And I love my ancestors. I love to get to know them. There's a lot of good that comes from it, a lot of blessings. And I exhort you to do your family history and get to know your ancestors.
Él hará volver el corazón de los padres hacia los hijos y el corazón de los hijos hacia los padres.
Knock, knock, knock.